Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a professional makeup artist and I am here with makeup tutorials to help you get really good at doing your own makeup. In this tutorial, I will be explaining how to use eye makeup as a beginner to get just a basic eye look like this one. So if that sounds interesting to you, just keep watching. So this video, as I said, is the beginner eye makeup tutorial. Goes with that main video that I posted about a beginner makeup kit and where you can start playing and having fun. So I'm just going to show you some basic eyeshadow techniques, just super simple, somewhere to get started, but the key part to getting good at makeup is playing with it and practicing. So this is not techniques that are set in stone, it's just some way to get you started and to focus in on somewhere so it's not all so overwhelming. So the products that we're going to be using in this tutorial is an eye primer, an eyeshadow palette, an eyeliner pencil, and mascara. Okay, so those are the products we're going to be using. The tools we're going to be using are going to be our eyeshadow brushes, right? So we have a fluffy eyeshadow brush, we have some kind of tapered brush, and we have a eyeliner brush. Okay, so there's 3 brushes that you need. Eyeshadows. Today I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Bite Size in Cream and Sugar is what this one is. I'm going to be using the e.l.f. or ELF Putty Eye Primer. Yeah, Putty Eye Primer is what it's called. I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Kohl Eyeliner. And I'm going to be using the CoverGirl Exhibitionist Mascara. So these are the things that you need in order to get this look. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. So if you need more information on these products and the kit that I'm talking about, go watch that video. I will link it for you so that you can see what products I'm talking about. This is a beginner's guide, somewhere to start playing, right? Okay, so first we're going to put on our eye primer. Eye primer is one of the few primers that I actually believe does something. It will give you a good base for the shadow to stick to. It can help control oil if your eyelids are oily. It can help mask texture if your eyelids are textured. It can help even out color if it's tinted. If you have some really veiny eyelids, right? There's more discoloration on your eyelids. It can make your eyeshadows last longer, make them look more vibrant. It's one of the few primers that I think actually does something. And so I absolutely recommend that you use it. You will have a lot of success with it. Now the ones that I'm using in this tutorial and the ones that I recommended in that beginner's makeup kit video are all very accessible brands. They're going to be lower end in price and they're going to be easy to find. I found all of them at CVS, Walgreens, Target, Ulta, right? So I found them at stores that are easily accessible to most of us here, at least in the United States. Okay, so this is the ELF Putty Eye Primer. We're just going to use our fingers to put it on. Fingers are one of our main tools when we first start out. So I'm going to get some on each of my ring fingers here. Right, so I've got a little bit. That's how much I have on. Hopefully you can see that. Right, there's not a lot. And then I'm going to put it on my lids. Just pat it and rub it on. Don't be too rough with yourself. Use a light touch, right? Just like when you learn to color on paper when you were a kid, right? The harder you pressed, the more color you got and the more destructive it was, right? Both what your marker or crayon or pencil it was that you were using and the paper that you were coloring on. So you want to use a light touch. Practice just tapping, right? So I'm spreading that all over the lid, all the way up to my brows. Now, as you can see, I have no makeup on right now, right? You can see that I have very sparse eyebrows. In fact, you can probably barely see them. You really have to get close up to see them because they're so blonde and there's so very few hairs there. So I always draw my brows in, which I'll do in another video, but I bring that primer up onto my brows to help it stick a little bit. I also bring it down under the lash line. Even if I'm not going to put eyeshadow there, I'm going to put a bit of concealer there, right? And so I'm going to bring this primer down there because that's going to help anything I put on the under eyes stay as well and keep it from creasing. So then we're going to, next step, you've got your primer on, we're going to go into our eyeshadows. And this, like I said, is the ELF, and I either say ELF or ELF. It's E.L.F, so technically it's ELF, right? It's an initialism. It stands for eyes, lips, face. Anyways, if you say ELF, people will know what you're talking about. This is the Cream and Sugar palette. There we go, you can see it, focus on it there. You can see it's got a nice light range of color. If you have a deeper skin tone, I would suggest using the ELF Truffles palette. This is the Truffles palette. You can see it has a lot more darker tones in it. So if you have a deeper skin tone, these might be better suited for you as a beginner, right? They're going to show up better than this one will. This is a lighter one, I'd say, for light to medium skin tones. So what I'm going to do is this first shade here at the top is a matte shade. And if you look at it against my skin, it's a pretty good base color. It's a pretty good match for my skin tone, right? It's not an exact match, but it's close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fluffy eyeshadow brush. That's this one here. You can see it's not too big. It's flat from one side, right? The feral hair is pinched so that it's flat, but it's still fluffy, and it's wider this way. And if you look, you can see that the bristles are tapered, right? They're not cut straight across and flat. They're cut in layers so that they taper up like that, and it's kind of fluffy. It's not too dense, it's not hard, and it's not too soft, right? You gotta find something that's in that happy medium. So a fluffy eyeshadow brush is the one that we're going to use first. And we're going to take that light matte shade, this one right here. I'm gonna put my brush in both sides, get it on both sides of the brush. And I'm gonna tap off the excess, just like that, so that I don't have too much. And just like I mentioned with practicing the light hand, I'm just gonna sweep that all over the lid, right? Using both sides, I'm gonna go all the way over the lid. So corner to corner from the lash line, all the way up to the brow. This is why I'm using a color that closely matches my skin tone. Right, so you can see that I've put that on and it just blends into my skin. That's going to give you a good base on top of that primer for the eyeshadows that come next. Powders on powders are going to perform the best for you, right? If you try and put a powder on top of a cream, it's a little bit harder work. It's not impossible, but it's a little bit harder. So as a beginner, you want to put powder on powder, cream on cream, liquid on liquid, right? Put like with like. So we're going to go on the other eye with this, and again, corner to corner, all the way from the lash line up to the eyebrow. Now you can see I raise my eyebrows when I do this. I do that to stretch out the surface so that it is firmer, right? If I try and do that with my eyelids loose, my brush will end up skipping a lot on the loose skin and create folds and creases that I don't want. I want a nice even wash of color. So hopefully you can see that, right? So next I'm going to take a color into the crease. Some people call this their transition shade. They call it a crease color. They call it their mid-tone contour shade. It's called all kinds of things. So for this look, I am going to take this color right here, right? This third one. It's a shimmer color. You can absolutely use shimmers in the crease as a transition color, whatever you would like. This is a place to start, so you can start playing. This one is the one that I'm going to use. And to do that, I am going to take my tapered crease brush. So this one, right, is round. So it's round all the way around. The ferrule is not pinched like that other brush that made it flat. And you can see it's very tapered. It comes to much more of a point all the way around. Now it's not too big, right? You don't want a brush that's too big. Most people have smaller eye space, you know, your eyes are a smaller area. You don't want a big fat brush, right? If you can see the sizes on those, you don't want something like this to go into your crease. That's going to be difficult. So you want something that's a good size, probably about the size of a fingernail, right? That's probably a good way to gauge how big should my brush be. See, it's about the same as my fingernails, right? That's about how big your brush should be to fit on your face. Even with this other one that we used earlier, right? If not the whole length of my nail, but just the bed of the nail, right? It's about the size of my fingernail. That's a good way to gauge on your eyeshadow brushes of what's going to fit on your eye best. So I'm going to take my tapered eyeshadow brush and I'm going to dip the tip of it into that third color, right? And I've got some on my brush there. I'm going to knock it off. And then what I want to do is I want to put this in the crease of my eye. Now, where is the crease of your eye? The best way to find it is to find your bone, right? Find the bone of the eye socket, right? There's my bone right there. Now, where it dips in, where it goes into where your eyeball is, that is the crease of your eye. Everyone's eyelids are different. Sometimes you can't see that, obviously. The eyelids don't automatically sink into that spot. Sometimes they're hooded, right? Sometimes that's what a hooded eye means, is that you can't see that crease. It just goes flat over. It doesn't indent. So what you want to do is you want to find that spot, and that is where you want to stick your brush, right? So right there is where my crease is. And then I'm going to start using little circles and a back and forth, small motions, light touch. Don't go in real hard. Don't push real hard. You won't have much luck blending, right? Now these eyeshadows are not super pigmented, but they're pretty good, right? They're decent for their price range. They're only $3 palettes, which is pretty good. So that's why it's a good place to start, because you can afford to spend some money on, I'm getting some more on my brush here. You can afford to spend some money on playing around with some things that are not gonna break the bank, as they say, right? So I'm just going in with a little bit more because I wanted a little bit darker. I wanted to see that. I'm also bringing the color over here on the outside of the eyelid. The mobile lid is this part here that moves. That's where I'm bringing that color. You can see my brush doesn't move around a ton because I'm not pressing real hard. Let the brush shape do the work for you. Okay, I'm going to get more on my brush and do the other side. Right, find the bone and where it indents into the eyeball. That's where I want it, right there. And that's where I'm going to put it, back and forth here. So back and forth, little circles, light touch. It's always easier to add more than it is to take away, right? I'm going to come on the outside of that mobile lid there, right here on the outer corner. So when people say the outer corner of the lid, this is the area that they're talking about, right here. This is the outer corner. This would be the inner corner. Okay, so outer corner, up into that crease, blend that all in. And that looks good. That's where I want it. Yeah? So now we have our base coat down, and we have our transition, our contour, our crease shade, medium shade, whatever you want to call it. They all mean the same thing, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my deepest color, and I want some more depth around my lash line, right? I want to really draw attention to my eyelashes so that my eye color really pops and my eyes stand out in my face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my liner brush. This one is an angled one. You can use whichever kind you have that you prefer. You can see it's really small. It's not too big. I'd say it's no wider than your pinky. It's no wider than your pinky nail, right? It's a little bit smaller actually. It's pretty small. It's nice and tight, right? It's a very fine tip here. Yeah, and this one is angled. You can use a flat one. You can use a slightly wider, smudgy one, whichever one you have available to you, right? This is the one I'm going to use, this liner brush. And then I'm going to go into this darkest brown color here, this kind of espresso brown, and I'm going to get the color right on the tip of the brush. Hold this properly. So I'm getting the color right on the tip of this brush. Sorry if the autofocus going in and out is annoying, but putting things in front of the camera and then taking them down means that it has to adjust again on my face. So anyway, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put that right at the lash line. You don't need to worry about being super precise. This is an eyeshadow. We're going to blend it into the other colors, okay? So what you want to do is I'm going to take the brush, the angle of it, the high point is going to go towards the outside, right? I'm putting the flat of it like this on my eye, and I'm going to push, press, tap along the lash line. You see that? And then I'm going to turn the brush so that the angle is going up onto my eyelid. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to blend that color. And I'm going from right out here, right at the edge of my eye, in. And you can see I'm not going all the way across the eye. I'm only going halfway. Okay? We're going to do more with some eye pencil in a bit, so just be patient. So we're going to go flat side along the lash line. Really get in those lashes there. Press it in. And then turn the brush right at the corner. Blend. Right? We're doing shading. This is what this is. We're doing shading. So I'm making that area of the eye look darker. See, this is a very simple look, okay? So what I want now, let's see, what should we put on now? Let's bring a little bit more of this crease color onto the outer corner of the eye. I want it to come over even a little bit more, yeah? Now, instead of using that tapered brush that I had before, this blending brush, I'm gonna go back to my fluffy eye brush, but I wanna make sure I don't have any of that other color on it. So I'm gonna take just a washcloth here, and I'm just gonna lightly swipe it on the loopy terry cloth here to get that extra eyeshadow off, that other color, right? So that I don't have that on there. And then I'm going to take the side of the brush and I'm going to put it in that color. We're going back into that third color there that we put in the crease. There we go. And I'm going to press it right here on the outer corner. Not too much on top of that dark one, just above it and up to meet in the crease. And I'm pulling it more towards the center, right? Like that. So now I have this space right here that's lighter than where I put the rest of the color. Okay, we're gonna do something with that space. So let me get the other eye here, get that color on my brush, that kind of coppery color on the outside. And if you mess up and you get too much over that dark color that you put at the lash line, don't worry, you can go back and put more on. All right, it's always easier to add more. So I'm gonna wipe off that color off on my brush, on my towel here. And I'm gonna go back over that dark color. So I'm putting more color on my liner brush of that dark brown. And I'm gonna sweep it, press it, swipe it. Lots of different words you can use. Halfway across, okay? That way I can really see it. And play with your brushes, turn them around, see what using them from different angles does. Right? Just like learning how to paint or any other kind of art, you got to learn how to use your tools. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the lightest shade in this palette. We're going to use this color right here. And I'm going to go back to that flat eyeshadow. Make sure you rub it off if you haven't already. Get all that other color off of there. And I'm going to go into this second color here, the lightest shimmery one. I'm going to get that on both sides of my brush. Tap off the excess, and I'm going to put that in that empty space that we left right here. So I'm kind of using a patting motion. When you're using colors with a bit of shimmer or glitter or anything to them, using a patting motion is going to give you more of that shimmer than swiping it. The more you swipe it like this, the more you're flicking those particles, those mica particles, the glitter particles away that are creating that shimmer, and all you're going to be left behind with is whatever pigment is in the base. So you want to make sure you use more of a pressing motion when you're using a shimmer. And notice I'm going all the way into the inner corner here, all the way to the crease, but I'm not coming over to the outer corner because we put another color there. I'm just coming just slightly over the top of the edge of it so that the two colors blend together. So you can see that there like that. Come a little closer so you can see. All right, so now we're going to do some eyeliner. Yay! Okay, so I'm using the Wet n Wild Kohl eyeliner. This is in the color Simma Brown now. Right, it's just a brown eyeliner. Very easy to use. Every time you use your pencils, you want to sharpen them. Lip pencil, eye pencil, whatever kind of pencil it is, sharpen it every single time you use it. That's going to make it the most sanitary. Okay, so I have my sharpener here. I'm going to stick it in the hole that it fits the best. And I'm going to sharpen it a few times. Right, and now it's ready to go. So I want to hold the eyeliner. I don't want to hold it like this. I don't want to hold it like this. I want to use the tip of the eyeliner. Now I also steady my hand, right? Because it's hard to keep your hand steady and your face steady when both things can move in different directions, right? So what I do is I brace my hand that's doing this on my face with my pinky. So I'm just going to touch my face with my pinky to keep my hand steady on my face. And then I'm going to look down into my mirror and I'm going to put the tip of the pencil right where my eyelashes meet my eyelid. And I'm just going to start bringing it over, right? I'm just coloring. So I'm making little strokes like this, right? Okay. Right on top of where we put that eyeshadow. But I'm not going way up here. I'm just keeping it right where the eyelashes meet the eyelid. So right at the edge of the eyelid. And I'm going to bring it all the way to the inner corner. See? So now we have that connection from the wider eyeshadow that we put only halfway across. That color is going to continue towards the inner corner, right? You don't have to make a thick line, just a little one. You're just getting that color into the lash line. So we're going to do the same on the other side, bracing my hand on my face, using the tip coming at an angle from below, and just little dashes, dots, swipes, right? Whatever word you can think of to describe this motion that I'm doing. Blink if you need to. All the way to the inner corner. If you mess up, don't worry, you can clean it up. That's why we have Q-tips, to clean up whatever messes that we make, right? So then we're gonna look and see our look here. Let me look in my mirror and see how I like that. I like that. I want a little bit on the bottom lash line. You don't have to do this part, but play with it. See if you like it. Some people do, some people don't. Personally, I'm very pale, right? And so I don't have a lot of color around my lash line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that eyeliner brush that we used before, and I'm going to take that darkest color in this palette. I'm going to bring that under my eye. So just on the tip of the brush, yeah? Knock off the excess. And then I'm going to make my eyes real big so I can see what I'm doing. And same as we did on the top, we're going to start at the very, very corner right here. And I'm just going to press. And I'm only going to do halfway across, just like that. Okay? And same thing on the other side. Just light little taps. Light-handed, tippy, tippy, tippy tap. Make sure that you connect the two colors out here. Make sure they're connected. Okay? Now we're going to take this fluffy eyeshadow brush. Make sure it's cleaned off on my towel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch it. I'm going to pinch it so it's really flat. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to run it along the lash line where we put that color, and I'm just diffusing that color a little bit, and I'm dragging it so it fades across to the middle. So hopefully you can see that. I didn't just ruin it. Here we go. See how that kind of drags the color and makes it fade into nothing? Okay, just like that. And that's it, right? That's it for that. That's all we're gonna do with that. Now, what we wanna do is we wanna clean up under the under eye. So I'm gonna take my Velour sponge. It's a fuzzy sponge, powder puff sponge. And I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna kind of fold it around my finger so I have a nice edge. And I'm just going to lightly sweep away, just like that, to catch any fallout from the eyeshadow that I may have gotten before I move on to the rest of my face. Okay? And then we're going to do mascara. Mascara is going to be the last one. This one I'm using today is the CoverGirl Exhibitionist. It's a really good one. I like it. I can't use brushes that are really big because my lashes are really short, so it won't catch them. But this one this brush I found is really good for pretty much any length of eyelashes, and I really like this formula. So we're going to make your mascara face. We're going to start at the base of the lashes, and I'm going to lightly wiggle back and forth and up and out. Something I find that helps is blinking through it. So hold it there, wiggle it, and then blink. But move the brush away from the eye. If you go up or in, you'll end up hitting your eyelid, right? Wiggle back and forth and blink. Wiggle back and forth and blink. Wiggle back and forth and blink. If you need to see what you're doing when you do this, in your mirror, focus on your reflection in the mirror so you're not focusing on the brush coming at your eye. You'll just end up blinking and hitting yourself in the eye and it'll be a mess, right? So we're gonna do the other eye. Top, here we go. Now if you have long lashes, you're gonna wanna start with the bottom lashes, just so you don't get mascara transfer when you do the bottom. You can turn your hand whichever way you need in order to get in there with the brush. Get all those lashes in there. Wiggle, wiggle, blink. Wiggle, wiggle, blink. Wiggle, wiggle, blink. Right, and now I'm gonna do the underneath. So I'm gonna make my funny face and I'm gonna get the bottom lashes. Now I got a little bit, which I'm kind of glad about, so I can show you. I got a little bit of mascara right here. You can see that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let that dry, right? If I try to smudge it and wipe it out of the way right now, it's just gonna make more of a mess and smudge all over my face. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna take a Q-tip, right? So I've got my Q-tip here, and I'm just gonna put it right on there, and I'm gonna flick it away. Right? So I got on it and I twisted and went, that's a technical term, you do the, right? Put it on there, flick. If it's dry, it'll just flick and flake off right away. And there you are, you're all clean. So that is the beginner eyeshadow tutorial. I hope that that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'm happy to help you. Please play with all of these things. That's the whole point of makeup, is to have fun with it, to play with it. It's called makeup artistry for a reason. So play with it and have fun. Don't let it be intimidating. You can wash it off if you mess it up, right? I hope that you have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.